Your brain plays this trick on you and makes you believe that if you play small, if you stay quiet, if you tone yourself down, you won't be rejected. But it's not true, because when you do that, you're actually rejecting yourself. You want to look at yourself in the mirror and be, this is the person I want to spend the rest of my life with. You want to be your best friend. You want to be your greatest lover. The person with whom you feel safe, with who you feel like you can be yourself. Because when we allow ourselves to show our authentic truth to the world, our raw self, our true self, our vulnerable self, we are saying yes to ourselves. We are accepting ourselves fully, and then how the world responds around you doesn't matter as much. Like, yes, you might be rejected, but what's the price you are paying by not allowing you to be exactly who you are and to show that to the world? And so in this video, I want to talk about this, like, why do we hide ourselves? And also, what does being your authentic self look like? Because we say that all the time, like, just be yourself, but what does that even mean? What does that even look like? And I want to talk about what you can start doing to implement change in your life, like how you can start healing and go towards being more expressive and living more in your truth. I want to make this video because I've been there, you know. I watered down myself for so long. I shrinked myself a lot. I always felt I was too much in this world. It made me want to hide myself and be less to make other people comfortable. You know, I've always been someone very deep, very passionate. You know, I've always seen things through another lens, through a different lens. I've always been passionate about healing and personal growth and spirituality. And the more I go on this road, the deeper I get and the more I don't necessarily fit in. But for so long, there was like some shame around being myself because I felt like I was not received by the other end, and I didn't want to look like that crazy person, or she's too much, or she's too intense. So I would play it cool so that they would accept me, so that they would love me, so that they would see me. And so, you know, my whole life I was walking around thinking that I needed to be someone else to be loved. And I had to reach a really, like my lowest point in my life for me to shift. And that was 5 years ago. So when I ended my toxic relationship, in that relationship, like, that trait of myself really showed up, where I was really trying to fit into his box. I was really trying to make myself so small, fitting in some place that I do not fit. When I would share my truth, it was received as I was crazy, or like it was not true. It was dismissed, you know? The more I went into this relationship, the more I shrunk myself, until I was nowhere to be found. Like, I completely lost touch of 𝗃𝗍. Like, I didn't know where I was anymore. I would doubt myself so much. I was like, am I going crazy? Like, what's going on? What is true? What is not? And I had to get to such a low point that my physical body was shutting down, and I would go see doctors and stuff. They're like, no, there's nothing going on. I'm like, yes, there's something going on. And I did this energy healing. It kind of moved something in me. And when I came out of that, I was like, hey, it doesn't matter if the other person doesn't understand your truth. What is true to me is true to me. No one needs to see it. No one needs to believe it. It's true to me. And that was where it started to flip for me. Not long after I really ended for real that relationship, and the last 5 years were me building myself up in that regard, you know? Really honoring my truth, expressing my truth, even if it's not received on the other end, even if I get rejected from it, I'm like, there's nothing that's worth me losing myself for anything, because I know what is true inside of me, and I need to start believing it. Like, I dismissed my own truth. And truly, like, the first time I did honor my truth to this person, and I said these words, you know, I said, like, it doesn't matter if you don't understand, this is my truth. I swear my body started healing from that point on. It started going uphill. So I was literally like killing my spirit by people pleasing and keeping myself small and by not expressing myself. And I got the idea of making this video because last week I went on a date. It was the first time I went on a date in 2 years. And I was really impressed, you know, it really highlighted the switch I've made, because the whole time I was just myself. I was speaking with all of my depth, with all of my beliefs around every subject. I didn't filter anything. I stayed very raw. I stayed very unapologetic about what I believe in, even if it's not mainstream stuff. I didn't play it cool. I was not trying to like make the other person like me. I was just like, hey, this is who I am. Because, you know, I don't care that the other person likes me if I'm not showing my true self. I want them to like me because they like me. So why do we do it? Why do we hide our truth? It's quite simple. It's because we don't feel like it's safe for us to be ourselves. Somewhere down the line, we feel like there's a danger if I show my true self. And this probably comes from childhood. There's probably some stories that you registered that conditioned you to think that it's safer to not be yourself. And in some regards, it was a mechanism, a protective mechanism. It was a way to protect you. But on the long run, it's doing quite the opposite. It's hindering your growth. It's hindering your empowerment. And now it's keeping you down, and it's keeping you away from your fullest potential. So this could happen like, okay, you're at work with people around you, or you want to start a YouTube channel and speak your truth. You have a fight with your partner and you feel something deep down and you want to say it, but you can't. How do you feel in that moment? Like probably your heart is palpitating, you feel blocked, you feel stuck, you feel small. That's all symptoms of your nervous system being activated because it senses danger. So this is where like healing comes in place, because the more you heal, the more you feel safe expressing yourself. So there could be a lot of stuff you experience, like it's a case by case, but there could have been, let's say, pressure to be perfect by your parents or something. So you always felt like you needed to put up a front and you needed to be this perfect person to be seen, to be valued, to be loved. Or there could have been a lot of conflict at home where you tried to protect yourself by people pleasing, you know, by saying yes to people to avoid conflict. You could have been bullied, you could have been rejected, there could have been a lot of like emotional neglect or just not emotional presence. So you never really learned to share your vulnerable self, like it was never safe for you to do so. So there could be a lot of situations that made you feel like it was safer for you to water yourself down, you know, for you to shrink yourself and just step back, tone down, and just agree with everything around you, or just like match and shapeshift around like how other people you think they want you to be, so that you can fit into the expectations of people around you and of society and etc. So there's a lot of feelings of like not being good enough. There's like some guilt, some shame from expressing your truth. So what does being your authentic self mean? You know, before me being able to be authentic, I needed to know who I was. And who you are is always evolving. So you're always on a path of self-discovery. You're always on a path of exploration. And being your authentic self actually is simply you sharing your truth in this moment. Like the more you heal and stuff, the more you shed layers, the more you connect to your true self, to your deeper self, you know? But that doesn't mean that you don't have access to that true self. Your true self is just you expressing like how I feel right now. It's not about you being high energy and being like, you know, I'll be your true self, and then you have this image of this like really perfect version of yourself. It's not that at all. It's you being able to be vulnerable and being like sharing how you feel right now, even if it's not understood or received by other people, even if it's scary. It's you being able to say no, even if it's gonna upset someone. It's you sharing your passions. It's you sharing your thoughts around a subject. It's you not trying to gain validation from other people. It's you just honoring how you feel, honoring your boundaries. And so an example I have with that is in the last years, you know, I've stopped taking drugs and alcohol and stuff, and I used to take a lot of that, and I kind of found like it helped me fit in a way. Like I was more accepted and like, oh, she's the cool one, she takes drugs or she drinks or whatever. In the last years, you know, I stopped doing that, and in society it's still like widely accepted, especially like around alcohol and stuff. And there's moments like I've been working in restaurants for the last years, and there's a lot of moments where people are like, oh, let's drink, and I refuse. And I've got a few moments where people were like, oh, you're boring, come on, just drink, oh, come on, just take this shooter, oh, come on. And back then, what I would have done was, oh, okay, I'll do it. And then I take it and I don't actually feel good about it. And I didn't truly want to do that. I only did it to please someone else, for them to find that I'm cool and stuff. But now I just, like, Being my true self is just saying, no, I don't want to. I don't feel like it. I could give an explanation, but I really don't need to. You know, it's just me about honoring truly how I feel, like what's real to me. And people crave authenticity because there's lacking so much authenticity in life. You know how when people show up to you and they're just true and they're just ourselves, like how you kind of admire them and kind of love them even more for it. Like people need authenticity, especially in a world that there's a lot of fakeness and masks. So being your authentic self is removing that mask. But before doing it with other people, you have to do it with yourself. You have to be able to be in that space with yourself and see yourself for who you truly are and accept that fully. Accept fully where you are right now. How you feel right now. Like, hey, right now I'm a people pleaser. Right now I'm not able to not do it. Hey, it's okay. Can you hold space for that? Can you hold space for this part of you that's scared to vocalize how you feel, that's scared to share your truth and express yourself? Like, it starts there. It starts with how you do it with yourself. So it starts with you. Now you could choose to stay into this pattern, but there's a cost, there's a sacrifice you're doing, and I'm sharing this just to motivate you to move out of this because it has a true impact on the quality of your life. Like, the relationships you have are a lot more shallow because deep relationships, deep meaningful relationships come from vulnerability. You know, when we share our hearts, that's where we create a bond. And when you're staying on the surface and you're not truly sharing who you are staying in shallow surface relationships. And a byproduct of this is also you having very poor boundaries. I had really poor boundaries before, to a point where I didn't even know what my boundaries were until they were exceeded. And this really was hurting me because I said yes to stuff so many times when I didn't want to do it. And it was slowly killing my spirit. The downfall of hindering your truth is there's a disconnection from your emotions. There's a sensation of feeling stuck, of feeling unsatisfied, like you're always unsatisfied with life because you're not truly living the way you truly want to, the way that's true to you. You're living to fit into a mold. Like, what's the point of doing this? You have to get to a point like, what's the point? Like, what's the point of doing this? Like, I'm gonna do everything in my power to get out of this cycle because it's not worth it. It's not worth it anymore. Thank you for being there because you protected me. You've like, this pattern has been trying to protect you, but it's not anymore and you can't let it go. You can't set it free. Okay, it has to die. This part of you has to die. And I'm gonna talk more about like healing and how that happens and how you can truly liberate yourself from this. And the cost is also like you build so much resentment towards life, towards yourself, towards people around you. Like, you become upset at them because they're not respecting your boundaries, but it's because you are not doing it. You are not showing up for yourself. So you become very bitter about life and it affects your mental health. Like, you have more anxiety, you have more depression. Like, it really impacts in so much ways. And it's truly not worth it and it can be avoided. If you haven't already, please give this video a thumbs up and subscribe to my channel if you want to see more videos like this. So now let's go into what you can do to start healing. So if I look back to my last 5 years, I was like, what was the major thing that helped you change this? And the major thing is being able to sit in discomfort and hold space in that discomfort. This is the #1 thing to do in healing. It's so simple. It's not easy, but it's so simple. Healing is not about taking away the pain. It's being able to hold the pain. Because when you're in that space to be able to hold the discomfort, hold the pain, you are seeing it. It feels safe and it can, first of all, start leaving, start dissipating. But it's also that in moments where you feel uncomfortable to share your truth, you're gonna more be able to do it even if it's uncomfortable because you've learned to sit with that discomfort. You've learned to meet yourself. And also you're like, hey, I've got my back. This is something that's big for me. Every time that I'm scared about doing something, I always remind myself, hey, I've got myself. I've got my back. I'm safe. I've got me. And that's because the more I hold space for myself, the more I show up for myself, the more I build a relationship of trust, and of self-love and of self-respect with myself. So I know, like, now I'm my best friend, I know I can count on me. So then from that space, it doesn't matter if other people's like doesn't show up, if other people deny my truth, if other people reject me. It doesn't matter because I've got me, and I've always got me to fall back on. And this is something I've built throughout the years. And this is huge because it really helps me to get over so many things in life, so much challenges. And it allows me to show up on a date and just be like, hey, this is me, because I'm not dependent on external validation. I already validated myself. Now, I did do a video about holding space. If you want to watch that and dive more into that topic, you can click here. But let's continue. So another part of the healing that's really important is gaining more self-awareness about yourself. So this happens in all the little moments where you step back and you take time to understand how you feel. So let's say you were in a situation where you did not share your truth. Like your boss asked you something and you said yes and you really wanted to say no. And then you step back, you take those moments, those pockets of moments to be like, how did I feel in that moment? Why didn't I say my truth? How would I have wanted to react? You know, what would I have wanted to say? And how would have that made me feel? And just like going into this exploration to really understand, like gain more self-awareness of you is gonna help you on this path of self-discovery, you know, of path of like knowing who you are, knowing how you feel in this moment, and being more quick when something happens to be like, hey, this is my truth, because now you know who you are. You know, before going on a date, maybe I would have not shared my full truth because I didn't know exactly what my full truth was. And so something else that I did a lot in the last 5 years was going on a lot of self-discovery journey. Like I tried a lot of new things, I met a lot of new people, I explored a lot. Like that's how you gain also more self-awareness, when you put yourself in different environments, you know. I discovered a lot of new passions, I discovered a lot of new topics, and I always like came back to myself to be like, how does this feel in my body? And then you really get a like mastery in understanding how you feel and connecting more to your intuition and knowing what belongs to you and what belongs to other people's expectations or beliefs. So if I can give you one tip for this, is to plan more time in your schedule to take time for yourself, like to quiet down, to recenter, because oftentimes like we are so busy, we get distracted, and we often like purposely distract ourselves to not meet ourselves. We don't have time to discover ourselves and to heal. And this is why I said like healing is so simple. It's not easy, but it's so simple. You just have to take more time to take walks, to meditate, to just, you know, take moments where you don't have any plans during an evening, you don't put the TV on and you just settle in. Like last week I had a moment, I started my period and I was like, I feel something. So you know what? I canceled my morning plans. I wanted to train and stuff. I didn't. I just sat in my bed. I journaled and I was just like, oh, where did I feel this? And then tears were coming out, and it's just those moments. But like I wouldn't have released these tears and felt these things if I didn't take the time for it. So like commit more to spending time doing this. And I did that a lot in the last 5 years, like even almost too much to some extent, where I was almost doing this full time. But that was my journey. You don't need to do it as intensely as me. But this really allowed me to shift and to really heal on another level. And so another tip I could give you is to practice. You know, practice sharing your truth. Start small, start in safe environments with people you love, people you feel like they're gonna receive you, like it's safe. Start practicing, like do it with yourself. Speak out loud, visualize, pretend that you're speaking to the person you want to speak to. Okay, so let's say there's someone you want to speak to, practice it before. Like visualize the words coming out, how you feel, even if your voice shakes or whatever, it's okay. And start practicing sharing your opinion on a work meeting, or like when your friends are talking and asking like, what activity should we do? Like start vocalizing more and easing into it, you know. So slowly and surely you're allowing yourself to share more of your opinion, share more of your truth, and even maybe start joining events, places that you can go where it's safe. So I did this a lot, like in 2021 and 2022. I went to a lot of spiritual festivals and spiritual retreats, and there was really a safe container where we would do circles and really talk a lot and share like how we feel. And because other people were doing it, it really felt safe for me to do it, and that definitely contributed for me to feel safer to express how I feel. So you can find places like circles, and it could be online or in person, where there's this safe container where you are received, and this is going to make a big difference because it's going to create a sense of safety around expressing yourself. And so in other environments where it's not necessarily safe, it's going to be easier for you to do it and create the safety from within. And then one last thing I suggest you to do is affirmations. I'm going to do this like really naturally. Like I don't plan it out, but let's say, oh, I'm going on a date and I'm stressed, okay? While I'm driving, I'll be like, talk to myself, I'll be like, I am safe. I've got my back. I'm valuable. My truth matters. Or just before doing something stressful, like, oh, you have an interview or whatever, like, you talk to yourself, you repeat yourself those things, you breathe into it, and just having these affirmations comes to reinforce these beliefs that you are safe and you are valuable and it's okay, that everything's gonna be okay, and that you're not in danger, and that you can count on yourself, and you've got your back. All these little things, they help. And so from doing all this healing, you'll start to reframe your perspective. It's gonna happen almost naturally, but there's also some stuff you can tell yourself to start purposely reframing the way you view this, the way your automatic response is to things. Just like I had said before, like, it doesn't matter if the other person rejects me, at least I'm not rejecting myself, so I'm gonna tell myself that, and it's gonna support me in sharing my truth. And know that like people need the real you, people need your authentic self. Like the world needs this version of you. I am way more powerful when I'm sharing my truth. And I found so many times, okay, yes, there's moments where people didn't understand me, it was a bit awkward, people rejected me, or like I was trying to explain something I was seeing, like it was really not received, and people were like, yeah, I understand, but they don't understand or whatever. But there's so many moments, the more I shared my truth, where people came to me afterwards and told me like, oh my god, this thing you said last time, like it really made me think, and it made me like transform this in my life or whatever. Some stuff that I didn't even realize I was saying, that I was just speaking naturally about what's true to me, and it had an impact. And this is just the people who told me. Imagine every person who didn't tell me like what my words had an impact on them. And truly, like, because I share this truth, like I've created such beautiful connections to people who really relate, and you're like, yes, me too. And then like we bond on something that's deeper. You know, it's not surface level bonding. It's like, okay, we're bonding on something that's deeper. That's why like if I go on a date, I don't want to pretend to be something else. I just want to share like this deep truth, because I want my partner to be able to meet me there. And if they're not, like I don't want them in my life, you know? So like the world needs your truth. And you know, instead of following the crowd, you're actually acting like a leader, and you're leading, you're showing the way, you're showing the example to more heart-to-heart connections, to more like, imagine if everyone would live in this truth, like in their truth, in their heart's truth. We would all inspire each other, and we all have different strengths. You do a disservice to the world by not sharing your truth. And this is something I tell myself whenever I'm scared to speak up. I'm like, hey, some people need to hear this. Doesn't matter if others don't. And like there's also the concept that like when you are being rejected for what you are and what you show, it's not actually a rejection, it's a redirection. Like this person or this situation that you are rejected from is doing you a service because they're not in alignment with you. So this is the reward from sharing your truth, is that everything that's not in alignment is gonna fall away. So I've been rejected way more often since I've been like in my fullest expression, because everything that's not in resonance to it doesn't fit in my life. But if someone judges me, it doesn't say anything about me. It doesn't say anything about my value, about my worth. It just says something about where they are in their journey, their own limitations, their own beliefs, their own perceptions. And that's why sometimes you're more rejected when you're your authentic self, because it reflects back to people where they are not being authentic. So whenever people have an opinion on you and they judge you for whatever, like, it has nothing to do with you. It has nothing to say about you, and just honor your truth. Like, for me, it's like I'm really deep. Like, hey, I love being this version of myself. Like, what I get from it is so beautiful, and the way I experience life and the way I feel life, like, it's so intimate, and like, hey, it doesn't matter what people think of me. Like, I'm living my life. I'm in my body. I'm the one I wake up with every day. So if you're ready to start this journey, if you're ready to reclaim your power and reclaim your truth, write that in the comments, okay? I am worthy of being in my fullest expression. I am safe to express myself. The world needs my voice. The world needs my authentic self. Write in the comment whatever represents how you feel right now. Like, I declare X, Y, and Z. I declare that I will stop playing small. I declare that I'm gonna step into my bigness. I declare that I will stop rejecting myself. Whatever resonates, please drop it and give this video a thumbs up. I love you.